There's only so much I can do to protect you.
I will find him and I will kill him myself.
One man is not worth all this loss. I like to win.
So do I.
I just want to know who you are.
One of the great appeals to me of The Day of the Jackal and why I was so keen to kind of go on this journey with it is it reminds me of those spy or espionage assassin movies of the past. It's deeply steeped in the analog rather than the digital. It's not about computers doing incredible things. It's about practical elements.
The Day of the Jackal is a very culturally relevant, poignant, fast-paced, high-scope, elegant and sophisticated drama.
There are so many series, brilliant series about spies, assassins, those worlds which I adore, but it was very important to me to try and find the Jackal's unique identity and that be a really implicit part of this and woven into all elements of the making of it.
From Budapest to Croatia to London. There are so many locations in this show.
The Day of the Jackal is such an iconic piece and comes with so many expectations, I suppose. So the global element of it and the impact of that really needed to be felt in every frame of the piece. It really did feel mammoth and cinematic in its aspiration.
Different cities, different languages, different characters with different personalities and different cultures. It's one of the things I thought when I read the script. It was like, wow, this is cool. I like it.
I was wondering if there was any chance that I could persuade you to come to Paris.
Paris.
What we're showing here is it's a British-led story, but set all over Europe, and Europe as a sort of playground, if you like. We are in a contemporary world. That becomes clear quite early on. So we were both trying to instill a sense of the past in the show while being a highly topical show of our times, building formidable sets and shooting in a very exciting, beautiful yet visceral style.
We wanted to build an enormous jigsaw puzzle. We wanted to create strong graphic compositions that had lots of frames within frames. We wanted to use reflections. We wanted to use silhouettes, lots of those kind of noir tropes. The intention was to sort of create a sense of shifting sands beneath the feet of the audience so that they were constantly wrong-footed and required the Jackal to take them on the journey, really.
The set builds are some of the best I've worked with. It felt very immersive for me as an actor stepping on.
It's about world building, it's about immersing a viewer into that space and then wanting to occupy it, wanting to stay there, believing in the four walls of it.
I've never experienced anything like it as far as the scope and scale of a project, and not only the scale but the capacity of two things to be happening at once. So we're here shooting in this iconic square in Budapest, while simultaneously Lashana is in London shooting with a whole other crew. And I feel like the scope of it is pretty breathtaking.
It's an absolutely thrilling show.
It's told on a scale and the production value that will appeal to everyone.
The Jackal is an extraordinary, wonderful series. It's been a real treat.
It's going to be a sexy and sophisticated show.
The Day of the Jackal is a culturally relevant, cinematic, massive show that will take a lot of people by surprise and will also remind them of what TV can be.
Who is the Jackal? Jackal's a bit of an enigma. He's a pretty extraordinary assassin and has skills and capabilities that are unrivaled. He looks at his profession almost like an artist, whether that's the mimicry, the languages he speaks, the sculpting of prosthetics to change the way he looks. He has all these kind of very specific skills and he charts them perfectly. So at his core, he's a bit of a chess player. One of the things that attracted me to this character was trying to unpack him. The Jackal is an iconic character, both in the book and in Edward Fox's version, and it was my dad's favourite movie, and I used to watch it at a probably deeply inappropriate age. I hope that whilst the series is updated, it pays great respect to the original. The Jackal, Edward Fox's version, became a sort of iconic fashion statement, really, you know, through his neckerchiefs and his tailoring of it. It was so sort of rooted in that period, and part of the joy of The Day of the Jackal is these beautiful locations and in the costuming. That peacocking quality that he has and that love of fashion was something that we really wanted to dig into. One of the things that was important for us was getting some absolutely timeless tailoring. It's just so beautiful to wear, and it's interesting that when you're playing a character who's so effortless, wearing clothes that really feel that rich, it makes it substantially easier. He's so meticulous that every element of his choices has to be perfect, down to what his suit bag looked like. I just didn't want anything to give away his seemingly effortless, but in fact very effortful taste. I often heard that actors put retaining their costumes into their contracts, and I'm deeply regretting not having put that into my contract on this job. One of the things that I think we all loved about the original movie and the book was the way that the Jackal is a chameleon, really. In the film, it was bits of hair dye and subtle things that shifted. But now, because of CCTV and because of face recognition technology, it felt like we could amp that up. And so we lent into this idea of the Jackal as a full-blown prosthetic artist. First thing you need to know about prosthetics days is they start really early. So this is who we're aspiring to be today. It's a high-wire act of trying to persuade an audience that I'm a 60-year-old chain-smoking German caretaker, and if it can work, that's wonderful, but I felt like if it didn't work, then the thing sort of falls apart from the outset. So it was really important for Mel and Richard and I that we gave it the time and the sort of meticulousness that it needed. Those first few days and the tests that we did with this makeup, I was having to watch all the rushes back to basically learn from your mistakes. Quite often something can look real from one angle and not from another. When television or film is at its greatest is when all the departments are communicating. As the actor, you're the person in the middle who tries to make sure all of those different qualities to a character are married together. What I love is there's an early scene in the series in which you watch the Jackal take all of this makeup off. So rather than it being a sort of big mask reveal, hopefully audiences will get to see the elements of the craft, really. Part of the prep for playing the Jackal, I went with Paul Biddis, the army specialist. We went and I learnt to sniper at across a kilometre. It's so technical and it's all specific to the wind at different places. And so if you really look back on that shot, you'll see that he puts up the little red windmill. When you're making those long distance shots, you have to judge the wind at various different levels.
David and I have been working together on and off for 6 years. Each time I do a job, we talk about the physicality of the character, and the Jackal has quite a specific one. I take that to him, he ruminates on it, and then he punishes me. On a job of this length, and with the specific requirements of playing the Jackal, not only how he looks, but also how he interacts in the world, it's been not only important, but sort of essential. One then is to sustain the length of the shoot, which is the longest I've ever done. One of the things that sort of attracted and repelled me about these scripts when I first read them was the amount of acting in a different language I was going to have to do.
J'espère que ça peut se résoudre sans trop de problème. C'est quoi à Munich? Tourisme. C'est une belle ville.
I speak a bit of French, and I was excited about that because one of the things when you're acting is trying to get out of your own head, to not scrutinize what you're saying as you're saying it. And when you're speaking in a different language, you can't scrutinize that because you have no idea how it sounds. German I do not speak a word of, so that was me being taught phonetically, sound by sound, for 6 months.
Meine Mutter hat keine Pläne gemacht. Sie hat mir nicht gesagt, was ich wollte.
The audience really have to invest in his skill set. He's an extraordinary linguist. He's a brilliant actor. He's an artist. You know, he sculpts prosthetics himself. He has all these different skills. So you've got to try and embed all that and make an audience believe some pretty far-fetched things.
The Day of the Jackal was one of the iconic movies that I was brought up on, and this whole experience has been so extraordinary because it would just never cross my mind that I would get to swim in this world. And he is an extraordinary, enigmatic, terrifying, complex guy, and getting to work with this character, with this extraordinary group of actors on a scale that's kind of unlike anything that I've worked on, it's been pretty special.
The Day of the Jackal is a culturally relevant, sophisticated, poignant, cinematic, massive show that will take a lot of people by surprise, will scare a lot of people, will make people feel, and will also remind them of what TV can be.
Fuck!
Bianca Pullman is an MI6 agent who is a boss inside. She likes to have things her own way. She's very unorthodox. You see her throughout the show struggle with herself, her mind, her passion, where the truth lies, where it doesn't lie, how she grapples with her own truth. It's a nice journey she takes from the typical MI6 agent that we know.
You're not what I was expecting.
Yeah, get that all the time. When I got the script, the first thing that came to mind is good skin and locks. I wanted there to be this unrecognizable aesthetic look to non-Black audiences, but very recognizable, quite wholesome and historic look to the Black community. It sends out a really loud and fierce message about our representation of hair and Black hair on screen. I personally appointed my wig designer from One Love, who designed this wig, Maurice Roots. He was incredible and made it one time, and that was it. There were no notes. And immediately I was Bianca.
It was like a dream come true. I've never literally seen character on TV with a Sister Locks wig. It was like a baby for me. Having to do it was really passionate. Locks for me is heaven. It carries a level of deep spirituality. Her doing this for us as a community, I see it as a community move, as a powerful and a brave move. Working with the team has been so special.
A very important part of becoming Bianca is her wardrobe. And myself and our costume designer, Natalie Humphreys, spoke at length the first time we had a conversation about what it would be like, the textures, what we're representing. For me, the main thing was London. She's a West London girl just like me, but also she's got to have some like cool tailoring in there and look crazy smart. A lot of her wardrobe is based around streetwear, comfort wear that can also pass as smart. I wore these growing up. And a lot of guys that I knew wore these growing up, so these were special to be included. When Natalie brought on tailors, I was like, oh, who's it gonna be? And it just so happened to be the tailors that did us for No Time to Die. And it meant that I was really able to celebrate my body and my curves and my height properly and know that everything fit well. This is something that I really, really wanted to get in. Headscarves for nighttime. Black women on screen need to be able to show their full nighttime routine, morning routine, that is slightly different to everybody else's. And Natalie completely got it. This is a London woman to me. This whole spectrum of her is London, England, parts of Europe, traveled woman who doesn't care too much about fashion, but is always gonna look good. In pursuit!
Having done stunts, having trained in weapons, I thought that I could come in and be quite familiar with the work. I have never trained like this in my life. It was very realistic. It was very thorough. With our incredible military consultant, Paul Biddis, we were able to really get to a point whereby I felt like I was walking into the role as the person. I didn't feel like I was ever putting on armor and taking up weapons that didn't feel like an extended part of myself. And that's because of his work and how thorough and detailed we were.
Myself and Eddie on separate occasions had to walk around Covent Garden in London and find somebody. We don't know who this person is, but we got images of them on WhatsApp, and he would just guide us in how to utilize our environment, which is what would be your early training in somewhere like MI6, and find this stranger.
You've got my number. I expect to hear from you tonight.
Can I go now?
It's a free country.
Bianca is just so cool, but not cool in that she's too cool for school. Cool in that she's actually a real fleshed out human being, and we took our time to make sure that she was recognizable internally, that emotionally you felt like a part of your center has tapped into her center through watching her.
My job, if I'm not where they tell me to be, at the exact time that they tell me to be there, then someone dies. Do you understand?
I was determined to be co-executive producer on the show because there's a lot to discuss within diversity and representation that kind of stays within those two words. There's hair conversations, there's skin conversations, there's lighting conversations, there are, in my case, wig conversations, continuity in it feeling like we are upkeeping in a way that me as a Black woman and the Black community will recognize. There's also body image. You know, there is what is femininity, who is taking care of the female narrative, which is my first question. When I first came on the show, I wanted to be a part of those conversations and have the necessary people be privy to changes within the production that are going to help elevate us, but we need the details and the nooks and crannies to really understand why things have changed. There's also a lot of protection of crew that I wanted to do across the show. We've got a young person. I have a responsibility to someone who's playing my child, who is a young Black girl, that she is represented in the way that she recognised and that her peers will recognise.
Evening, Mum. Hi. How you doing? How was school?
Good.
Being co-exec, it means a lot. If I wasn't, I don't think it would have made sense, because the kinds of conversations I've had over time, I'm so glad I've been a part of them. And I'm so glad and grateful to be able to pass that on to the next Black woman who will also be in my position.
The weird thing about TV is that, or from our experience on this, is we were only sent 3 episodes of 10, and that was all that had been written at that time. And for me, they were so propulsive. I just wanted to keep reading, and once I finished the 3, I was like, and when? And then what happens? Like, and that kind of addictive quality, and also the specificity of this genre, but how also kind of original it felt within the genre, was what like drew me in.
Yeah, so reading the first 3 episodes, I read and I say, okay, I've got a handle on what this could be, and I've made my decision, and let's have a conversation. But genuinely, it was like reading a book. I was like, okay, so this is now unfair that you've just sent 3. Yeah. So where's the rest?
Felt like what a betrayal.
Exactly. I felt like the audience member reading it. Like there must be an explanation to all this that happens, and it was so jam-packed with action and drama and emotion and feeling, and I could really see the realities of all the characters. And I think that whenever that's on the page, you just know that it's going to translate so beautifully onto screen.
I thought it was something different. I thought it was very cool to see in this kind of genre a contract killer pushed to make decisions between his personal life and his secret life, which is his job. I thought that was pretty new. I thought that humanized the character a lot. And I would say that was the first thing I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. I really want to be a part of it.
The last day for me was it was me and another character, a woman, having like a standoff, if you like, and it was a really powerful moment for Bianca where she has to make a decision for herself. Things are kind of come into her head, like it does in every single episode of Bianca. The stakes are so high. But at this particular moment, she's really having to decide what's best for her, and it just took me back to theatre, actually. I've done a couple of two-handers on stage, and it was really nice to just have two powerful women talking, speaking their truth, but also not really knowing if they're lying or not. And seeing that dissected and watching it over and over, it just felt like I knew that we had something for the female characters that was going to really speak to audiences, and it made me. I left with a high. I left thinking, oh, this is the show we're making. We're making connective stories about characters that are, slightly addictive, but also real, and that's kind of why I wanted to do the show. So I can't remember my first day actually. I don't know why it's not coming to me, but that's my last day.
My first day involved a shot that was so technical. It's one of the early shots in the scene in which I'm looking in a mirror and I have to go down and then the camera comes through. So there was a body double pretending to be me. They had built two sets that looked identical so that the camera could travel through the mirror. And it was so technical. So I had to sort of put my face down with this other actor who was wearing the same clothes and had the same hair in the back doing all the same thing at the same time. And it was a bit of a nightmare because all you want on your first day is to feel relaxed. Yeah. And nothing about this was like, it was like, if you got the performance right, the camera didn't work or the bodies weren't going at the same time. So that, I remember it being quite a stressful day.
You don't want to know my first day of shooting. My first day of shooting, I traveled to Budapest. We were shooting between Budapest and Croatia. And my first day, I remember I arrived and Eddie, it was like his second month of shooting already. So I started with an intimate scene. We were having sex at the office. So I was a little bit shocked about that. And I remember I was with Eddie before starting the shooting, and I was like, I can't believe I'm starting the shooting doing this scene. And he was like, don't worry about it, we'll be fine. At least it's good to break the ice. And I was like, yeah, but it's my first day, like it's too much. But it was helpful at the end. It was helpful because then you go straight, since the beginning. So that was my first day.
I'd say the most remarkable for me was pretty much the first day that I met Ursula, who played my wife. We had a scene from, because all of her days were consolidated, we had a scene which we described as the kind of marriage story scene. It was suddenly a very emotional, confrontational, like highly dramatic scene in which I was having to lie and manipulate so far I'd been doing lots of the action side of the show, and suddenly it was very grounded in. It felt like I was doing a different movie almost, and that was one of both the most thrilling and the most challenging.
I found the So Bianca has a daughter in the show, and this young, incredible actress called Floressa Camara had played my daughter on another Sky show many years before, and she was like 9 years old, and now she's 15, going on 16. And I remember the first show we did was like lovely and was just a supportive mother and, you know, very, very nurturing. And here I had to like lie to her the entire time. And it was really tough because she's so good. But like I felt genuinely bad that I had to do that, put her through that. Yeah. Gosh, this is really happening. And the look on her face, I just felt every time we called cut, I was like, I don't mean it, by the way. We're just acting. Exactly. I'm still, a nice person. So yeah, that was strange, kind of on and off set. But
also lovely to work with someone again.
Yeah.
A few years later, and imagine she's changed a lot.
Changed and grown into this incredible actor that taught me a lot, and it informed a lot of how I characterised Bianca off the back of what she was giving me. So that was a lovely experience.
I really enjoyed the scenes with Eddie. I think there are two scenes, the two hotel scenes, when I'm in Paris and when I'm in Budapest, that it really felt to me, because I guess it's because I'm used to do more action. So it really felt to me like an author project. And also I remember we were like not focusing on the lines, but on the silences, the pauses. And I remember I learned a lot. I learned a lot doing that with Eddie. And also I felt like I was fully acting, because it was not about what we were saying. It was more about how this couple look to each other and how they don't need to say something to understand each other. So, yeah, I would say those were my favorite scenes, and also the scenes where I learned the most. Sometimes I like to play some music, depending on the scene. I used to do playlists for each character I play. That's very helpful. And also when it's an emotional scene, I think music helps me a lot to connect. It doesn't need to be like dramatic music or sad music, It just, for me, it's enough just to connect with some music that reminds me of my childhood or something, just to be more like, connected with my emotions and my feelings. That's the only thing I used to do. And also, I would say breathing. It's very important to me. Because if you focus on your breath, you say in English? If you focus on that, I don't know why it makes me feel more present in the moment, because it's all about how am I living in this very moment. So, that's it. Not big deal.
Who's the target?
My clients need to know if you think it's possible.
It'll cost.
100 million is a big ask.
You're paying me to kill him. I am charging you for getting away.
Police all over Europe are looking for him.
We are reaching out to all our international partners for assistance.
He's an exceptional assassin. He will kill again, unless we stop it.
There's no record of him, anywhere. This guy's a ghost.
I know I can find him.
I've heard good things about you, Bianca.
Don't let me down.
His code name's Jackal. He's a mimic.
Oh my God! Somebody's hiring the Jackal for another kill. What do you do?
If I told you the truth, then I'll lose you.
This is a wild goose chase, and it's not helping our department's reputation.
Are you saying we should just walk away? That's not the job I signed up for.
There's only so much I can do to protect you.
I will find him and I will kill him myself.
One man is not worth all this loss. I like to win.
So do I.
I just want to know who you are.
And